we are still on that 14-page petition filed by Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Ngunjiri Wambugu seeking for the removal of Chief Justice David Maraga. For the purposes of that conversation, we had invited Senator Mutula Kilonzo Junior for Makueni and Irungu Kangata, Senator for Murang'a County. But just a few minutes ago, Irungu Kangata cancelled on us for this particular conversation. But we have Mutula Kilonzo Junior, Senator for Makueni County, who also happens to be a legal mind. Thank you very much for joining us here on KTN News Desk. Your immediate reaction to this petition?
My immediate reaction is that the timing is wrong, to the extent that first, the Supreme Court has not delivered its detailed judgment on the presidential petition. Two, we're also in the process of another presidential election arising out of the judgment. The timing is absolutely wrong. The timing is political. It's a politically motivated petition. I've read the grounds. The grounds are frivolous. It's an attempt to scare the Supreme Court. It's an attempt to cause a crisis. Because what he calls judicial coup is actually a decision. The Constitution is clear. The law is clear. This petition was going to go two-way. The petition is allowed or the petition is dismissed. And therefore, the country must appreciate that it went the way that most Kenyans did not expect, because it has never happened in a country. And therefore, nobody should panic because the Supreme Court made a decision. The second point is that you cannot fault Chief Justice Maraga for the judgment. Why? Because there were 4 other judges seated in the Supreme Court who agreed with the majority decision, and 2 others who did not agree. Well, and therefore, if you fault Maraga, you must fault the other 3 and fault the other 2. Because if the 4 were influenced, the other 2 were also influenced. So the premise is wrong. But unfortunately, for my case, I think, is to say that Ngunjiri Wambugu, as a member of parliament, has exposed himself to something that might tarnish his character in terms of pointing fingers at the Chief Justice of Kenya.
But there have been a few issues that have been raised there by Ngunjiri Wambugu, one of them saying that there are a number of, the Chief Justice has opened the doors to the critical core of the judiciary to non-governmental organizations, and he's gone ahead and stated a number of these organizations. He's also talked about of course, his decision, recent decision with this election, saying that he failed, that decision was not made from the basis of the documented evidence that was presented at the court. What do you think about some of the reasons he's given for this particular petition?
Let me begin with the first, because the first is the most ridiculous. According to Ngunjiri Wambugu, Mheshimiwa, that the Chief Justice has engaged with non-governmental organizations who are non-protagonists of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. That is ridiculous. And then, because it's administrative, so you'll have to point that an organization, a big organization, containing who has individuals who are against the president and deputy president. But the fundamental question is this: how does that affect the decision made by Justice Maraga? The second point, that there was no evidence. Chief Justice Maraga, in his ruling, as a Chief Justice, made a decision. Justice Njoki Ndung'u, Justice Jackton Ojwang made a decision. So if Justice Maraga and the 3 others made a wrong decision with no evidence, it simply means Justice Njoki Ndung'u and Jackton Ojwang did also not consider evidence in determining that Uhuru Kenyatta was elected validly. That argument is extremely dangerous, because Wambugu will be called upon to go through the documents and determine what was evidence and what was not evidence. Something that he himself cannot do and will never do in this lifetime. So that is a dangerous place. But to state that, and it bothers me, that somebody thought that by going to court, that the ruling will be in their favor. It's this sense of entitlement that they must agree with them, and you can't agree with me. That is not evidence. That is not law. That argument is very dangerous, because there were lawyers who were present in court. They made their case. The Attorney General made his case. The IEBC lawyers made his case. But what is going to catch up with Wambugu is this, let me tell you. that the Supreme Court determined that, one, the third respondent, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, did nothing wrong. But the IEBC did not conduct the elections insofar as the Constitution is concerned and the law. So, I mean, what argument does he have? Whose problem is he arguing? Who is he defending? Because the first premise here is Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto. The Supreme Court determined his client for, and I think that he's holding brief for both, even if he doesn't say so, because he says so in his petition, if he's holding brief for Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto were found to be not guilty, if you may use that term, and it's IEBC. IEBC, therefore, has not contracted Wambugu, and I do not know, therefore, on what basis that is making this petition. But if you go to the bottom of the petition, it tells me that the other state actors. It says that Justice Maraga, for a period in the run-up to the general elections and during the petition, he made communication with NASA supporters, political lawyers.
I was actually going to that.
And other persons whose interest he doesn't know. What he's simply asking, and what he's simply saying, that he's privy to the telephone logs of the Chief Justice through either NIS or a body that has been investigating or looking into the telephone calls of the Chief Justice Maraga. And they want to say, from number 1 to 40, all these people, all these conversations lead to one conclusion, that you are dealing with NASA adherence. That sort of argument can only come from Wambugu, I tell you.
But he says that the Chief Justice has been in communication with lawyers who were in court for the petitioners since 2007, giving the impression that he has been tracking the Chief Justice since 2007. What do you make out of that particular allegation?
That's what I'm saying. The allegation is ridiculous. The allegation is absolutely preposterous, because the point is this, and I repeat it. Chief Justice Maraga is only one judge in the bench. It is not his ruling. It's the ruling of the majority. Each one of the judges made a vote and made a determination on their own. And there's no evidence in this petition that says that Chief Justice Maraga coerced Justice Lenaola to agree with him. Chief Justice Maraga coerced Philomena Mwilu to agree with him. So therefore, you cannot say that the judgment is a judgment of Maraga. It's a Maraga decision because he's the Chief Justice. That's what we call it for those who understand legal practice. We call it, for example, Chief Justice then Willie Mutunga. Yes. We call it the Mutunga decision. Okay. But it's not the Maraga decision. It's a decision of the majority. I have actually offered Ngujiri Wambugu some legal lessons for free about things legal. Like this one. The other one is this, and I must say
quickly, we need to take a break.
He says that Chief Justice Maraga refused to allow Justice Ibrahim to participate in this petition. Yet Chief Justice Maraga mentioned that he was unwell. What does this mean in evidence terms? In evidential terms, it means that either Ngujiri Wambugu knows something about Justice Ibrahim we don't know, or two, Justice Ibrahim will be called upon to give evidence against the Chief Justice that at the point where he was in the hospital bed, where he could not move or whatever, he was not allowed to participate.
All right, Senator, let's quickly close it for our KTN home viewers, then we can get back to the conversation as we take a look at some of the issues that have been raised by the Nyeri Town Member of Parliament, Ngunjiri Wambugu, against the Chief Justice, David Maraga, seeking for his removal, a petition filed there at the Judicial Service Commission. Let's quickly break it for our KTN home viewers, but remember, we continue with a bulletin on KTN News. Top on our agenda, definitely that petition by Ngunjiri Wambugu. All right, still in studio here with Senator for Makueni County, Mutula Kilonzo Junior. We will be getting back to that.